Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, he's going to talk. Okay.
Huh?
So you let him, no, yeah, you introduce him. Let him give away 1 hour. Then we do thank you, volunteers. After this.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce the founder of BNI and the Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Meisner. He is an inspiration for all of us. So BNI, as we know, is the world's largest business network organization. He founded it in 1985, and today we have more than 260,000 members around the world. New York Times best-selling author. He has written more than 21 books, and his latest is Who's in the Room, and the book is available for sale today as well, outside in that stall. CNN called him father of modern networking. Forbes, one of the top networking experts in the world. Of course, to all of us in BNI, he is the expert for networking. So let's give a round of applause and get Dr. Ivan Meisner to share his thoughts on networking. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste. Hello, BNI Bangalore. It really is a pleasure to be back here. I thoroughly enjoyed my visit 2 years ago. There is no country in the world that I have been back to in 2 years other than India. When I say Ivan loves India, I mean it. I love India. I found out something interesting just recently. I found out that I have more followers on my Facebook page from India than I do any other country in the world, including the United States. Now that's the good news. The bad news, there's some bad news. I have more followers from Mumbai than I do Bangalore. We don't want that, do we? You have more people here than Mumbai did. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get on my Facebook page, and I want you to connect with me there on my Facebook page, all right? Tonight, I want to see a gigantic spike, and all from Bangalore tonight. I want to take this opportunity to thank Scion Social for the work they've done. Scion is the company that handles my Facebook and most of my social media. They took my Facebook page from about 48,000 followers a year and a half ago to 118,000 followers today. What a wonderful job. I want to thank Mina and the Scion Social team for their great job. I have a gift for you. The gift is a digital Kindle book. It's not the book I'm going to be talking about tonight. We have hard copies of those tonight here, but this is a free gift. I scheduled this to take place while I was visiting here in Bangalore. So on Amazon, you can go to Amazon.com, look for this book, feel free to take a photo. You can get a free digital copy on Amazon.com. It'll only last a couple more days, but I set it up. I scheduled it so that it would happen while I was here in Bangalore. You can download this book for free. It is absolutely free. It's a brand new edition called The Networking Mentor, and it's a parable about a BNI chapter. This is a BNI book. It's about a BNI chapter and how somebody mentored another person so that they became a very successful BNI member. So I invite you to download that book for free. It's my gift to you. The one request I have, if you would be so kind, is to do a review of the book. Would you do that? How many of you will commit to doing a review? Yeah? Okay, now here's the thing. If you don't like the book, you don't have to do a review. But if you like the book, please put a review up. I'd appreciate it. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about material from this book. It's called Who's in Your Room? I love this material. I love this book. And although the book is really kind of a self-help book, I want to look for opportunities to integrate what I'm talking about into networking and into BNI. And I think you'll find that there's a lot in this self-development book that's really relevant to what we do in BNI. So why don't we get started? Imagine that you live your entire life in one room. And that one room has only one door. And that one door is an enter-only door, so that when people come into your room and into your life, they're there forever. You can never get them out. Now, luckily it's a metaphor, but if it were true, would you be more selective about the people that you have let into your life? Yeah? Nodding is the universal sign of recognition. Yeah? That's what everybody says. Everybody says I'd be a lot more selective. So then the question is, why aren't you more selective now? Because I would argue that it's actually more than a metaphor. And here's why. What I want you to do is I want you to think about someone who was in your life. They were in your life and they're out now. They're out of your life. But when they were in your life, they were caustic, they were toxic, they were difficult. You didn't like spending time with them. I want you to think of a specific person. Don't worry, I'm not going to come on by with the microphone and make you name that person. They might be here, so I'm not going to do that to you. But I want you to think of a specific person. Now, do you have someone? So here's the deal. If they're in your head, they're still in your room. If you can remember them, if you can remember what they did, if you can remember how difficult they were, then they are still in your room. They're in your room because one of the people that we interviewed, Dr. Daniel Amen, says that the people that you have experiences with throughout your life, their fingerprints are all over your brain. The relationship that you had, good or bad, is all over your brain. And so we may think, gee, we can get these people out of our life, but the truth is they're still in your head, and if they're in your head, they're in your room. And so what we talk about in the book is how do you get more selective about the people that you let into your life? And how do you deal with them once they get in? And maybe you weren't as selective at one time. Now, do you see any relevance to this topic as it relates to BNI? Yeah. This book is not about BNI, but it's all about BNI. In that, it's about relationships, and BNI is all about relationships. So let me tell you what you need first. In order to control your room, what you need is a doorman, which I'm going to explain in just a moment. But first, what's your room look like? Is your room crowded? Is it chaotic? Is it boring? Is it loud? Is there a lot of drama? Do you have angry people in your room? Think about your life. What is it like? What kinds of people do you have in your room? And if you have these kinds of people in your room, that's when you need to have what we call, maybe it's just a weird person like that guy right there. That's where you need to have a doorman. Your doorman is your conscious and subconscious mind. Okay, I'm not telling you to go out and hire a doorman to protect you. What I'm talking about is your conscious and subconscious mind that basically is screening people out from coming into your life. Now, you don't have to call them a doorman. You can call them a bouncer, a guard, a door person, whatever you want to call. It's that conversation you have in your head when you're meeting people and determining whether this is somebody you really want to work with over time. You need this conscious and subconscious doorman. Now the question then is, if you have this doorman, how do you train that person? How do you train yourself to consider who gets to come in and who doesn't get to come in? Well, in order to do that, you've got to get good with your values. You have to know your values. Now, you're going to hear me talk about this several times throughout tonight's presentation. If you don't know your values, you're going to just let anybody in. Now, what am I talking about when I say values? The kinds of things that are here on the screen. Maybe inspiration is one of your values, or freedom, or creativity, or travel. It could be passion, it could be family, it could be authenticity, health. These are the kinds of things that are your values. Now, when I ask people, give me your top 7 values, it's like watching deer in the headlights. They can't do it. Think about your top 7 values. Most people can't name their values. Well, if you can't name your values, you can't train your doorman. Because if your doorman doesn't know your values, you're not going to be able to screen people effectively, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, when we're talking about values, companies, good companies, do a pretty good job of developing corporate values. BNI has 7 core values. We have 7 core values, and these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about that you need to really get good with. In BNI, one of our core values is givers gain, building relationships, lifelong learning, accountability, recognition. These are all examples of values. Now, values are either resonant or they're dissonant. In physics, when a vibration drives something else, you get either a resonant or a dissonant response. Let me see if I can give you an example. If you have 2 pianos sitting side by side, and on one piano you hit the middle C key, and on the other piano you press the sustain pedal, the second piano that you did not hit the key on will vibrate and make sound. You hit one piano and you press the sustain key on the other, and it will vibrate and make sound. That's resonance. Dissonance stops any kind of resonance. And the reason that I'm talking about this is that you want to find people who have values that are resonant with yours, not dissonant with yours. They don't have to be the same, but they can't be incongruent. It's one of the reasons why in BNI, we feel culture is so incredibly important, and understanding the values starting with givers gain. I'm sure you've had people in chapters who didn't practice that philosophy, and so you had dissonance in the chapter. This is really important to understand in terms of who you're going to let into your life and who you're not going to let into your life. Without a doorman, without being clear on your values, what happens is your door is basically just a revolving door where people are coming in and going out and you have no control over it. When you were young and didn't know any better, you definitely had no control. People just kind of come in willy-nilly. They come in as they want. You have no control over your life. You have no control over the door. But as we get older, we start to have discernment. We start to discern who we're going to allow in, who we're not going to allow into our life and into our room. The idea is that you want to stop this revolving door of people coming in, and you want to bring in people that are resonant with your values. So what that means is that you need to really think about what's important to you personally. What consumes your time controls your mind. What consumes your time controls your mind. So what are the things that you are doing? What are the things that you believe in? What are the things that you want to do? This is really important. Now, when we're talking about values, it can also be values that are aspirational. Let's say you aspire to something. That's okay. You can calculate values or consider your values based on the values you want to aspire to. By the way, in the book, there are several URLs where you can download free instruments, documents, where you can think about what your values are. Also in the book is a whole lot of a values list that you can sort of pick and choose to get a sense of what your personal values are. The key here is that when you listen to this today, if you don't sit down and spend about a half an hour just thinking about what your values are, this is time that's wasted for you. So make this time useful and really go deep and figure out what's important to you. And from what's important to you, you're able to think about what values are relevant to you. Now, one of the things that you can start with is something called deal breakers. Now, deal breakers are easy. When I tell people, what are your values, they're not quite sure. But when I say, what are your deal breakers? Now, deal breakers are things that you just absolutely won't accept in another person. It's completely unacceptable. People have no problem with the deal breakers. They can tell you the deal breakers really quickly. It might be things like dishonesty, might be things like angry or difficult, which is really interesting because almost everyone I talk to says they don't like toxic people, they don't like angry people. So I always wonder, what do the angry people say? They're angry, they're toxic. What do they say? I think it's funny if they say, I don't like toxic people, but you never know. And so a lot of people will say those kinds of things. They know the deal breakers. Here was one of my deal breakers when I started thinking about this book. One of the things that I really don't like are people who are dripping in drama. They just have drama all the time. Every day there's drama in their life. Now, we all have drama. I have drama. You probably have drama. We all have a little bit of drama. But it's the ones who every day there's something. There's always a problem. They can never have never have a good day. Everything is an issue. Everybody's out to get them. And it was a deal breaker for me. I realized I don't like working with people like that. Here's the problem. I had a lot of them in my room. And I came to the realization that they were in my room because I let them in my room. In some cases, I invited them into my room. In more than one case, I hired them. And I knew they were full of drama. So why would I hire them? Because they were good at what they did. And I figured I could deal with the drama. They're really good at what they did. I knew they came with drama, but that was okay because they were so skilled. What I didn't think about was what impact they would have on the team. And the impact they had on the team was dramatic and bad. Now, does this sound like a possible BNI situation? Yeah. Sometimes we let people into BNI that it's just not a good fit. They're dissonant because of the drama that they bring into the group. So one of the deal breakers for me is drama. But there are many different kinds of deal breakers that one might have. You can even have deal breakers as a couple. My wife and I, Elizabeth, have a deal breaker as a couple. We only go out with other couples who love and respect each other. If they don't, now look, nobody is always loving and always respectful, and I get that. But generally speaking, we want to go out with other couples who are loving and respectful with each other. And so we realized one of the deal breakers for us was going out with a couple that didn't treat each other that way. That was not the kind of couple that we wanted to spend time with. And so that was a deal breaker for us. So if you're having a hard time determining what your values are, start with your deal breakers. Then oftentimes when you know your deal breaker, your values become a little bit clearer. Make sense? Next, it's really important that once you get good with your values and you understand your deal breakers and you know what's important in your life, that you draw a line in the sand and you say, from this day forward, I will not accept people into my life, into my room, into my network, unless their values are resonant with mine. It is something that you must make a decision on and draw a line in the sand and not allow exceptions. If you want to create the life you are dreaming of, you have to take a stand. Now, this whole concept of who's in your room and surrounding yourself with the right people, when was the first time we probably heard this? It was probably Mom who said to us, I don't want you hanging out with Johnny, he's a bad influence, right? So this isn't new, it's a new way of looking at a concept that is really important. You've got to surround yourself with the right people. And in order to do that, you have to draw a line in the sand and say, from this day forward, right now, tonight, forward, I will only allow people into my life that are resonant with my values. Now, here's a couple of things to look for when you are assessing people who are already in your room. Because sometimes they've already come in. So if they're there, or if they're at the door trying to get in, ask yourself, is this individual an engine or an anchor? Are they an engine or are they an anchor? Engines are people who just drive you forward. They help you be your best self. You love being with them. They're exciting, they're interesting. They make you a better version of yourself. Anchors just weigh you down. They just bring you down. Have you ever worked someplace and an employee either got fired or quit, and all the other employees went, oh, thank goodness that person's gone? Yeah? I see laughter. So yeah, we've all been there. That was an anchor. And so you want to ask yourself, as you're considering people coming into your room, is this person an engine? Are they an anchor? The people that are already in your room, is this an engine or is this an anchor to my life? Now, you'll find sometimes people are anchors with an engine attached, where they're just pulling you down quickly. Once you're able to determine whether this individual is an engine or an anchor, then you have a sense of what you need to do next, and I'm going to be talking about some of those things. How do you deal with some of these people that your doorman let in the past? If your doorman exists today, you can stop those anchors, but if that doorman allowed other people in the past, then you got to learn how to deal with those anchors that are already in your life. We're going to talk about that. One of the things that you want to do is learn how to say no. No is important, and you know what's interesting is that as the founder of BNI, I like to be able to say yes to people. I mean, yes feels better than no. I run a large network. I like as much as possible to be able to say yes to people, but you can't always do that. And one of the things that I found very interesting about Steve Jobs was that he once said, I'm more proud of what Apple said no to than what Apple said yes to. We said no to the distractions and stayed on mission. Okay? And these are some techniques that I have found to be really useful over the years. One of them, I'm almost afraid to name a couple of these because I know there's people in the room that I've used it on, and they're going to say, oh yeah, I remember him using that. Here's one of my favorite ones. And this is a really effective technique if you determine that you're unable to do something for someone. One of my favorite techniques is to say, if I said yes to that, I'm afraid I would let you down. That's a really tactful way of saying no. If I said yes to that, I'm afraid I'd let you down. I want you to remember that, because sometimes we're drinking water from a fire hose in life, and we've got a lot of things going on, and maybe something that someone wants us to do is just not on mission for us, or we don't have the time to do it, and we want to say no, but we want to keep the relationship. And so this is a great technique to use. If I said yes to that, I'm afraid I'd let you down. Now, you have to mean it. It has to be somebody that you like, that you really don't want to let down, but it's a great way of maintaining that relationship and saying no to them without acting like a jerk. Now, here's a technique that we should all be able to use because we're in BNI, and that is, and this goes hand in hand with the first one very well, refer them to someone else. You know, if I said yes to that, I'm afraid I'd let you down. However, I know somebody that might be able to help you with that, and that's on mission for them. That's what they love to do. They're perfect for this. I think they'd be excited to help you with it. And you refer them to someone else, which is great because in BNI, we have an opportunity to refer a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying refer somebody just because you don't like them, you don't want to work with them or whatever. Don't refer that person over to someone else. But if it's a good project or a good individual, refer them to other people. It's a nice way of saying no without actually saying no. Here's another one. This is a little stronger. I don't do that. I'm sorry, I don't do that. I'll give you a good example. I have people all the time who want me to eat sugar. They give me cakes. They give me sweets. And I eat virtually no processed sugar. Had a health issue about 6 years ago, changed the way I ate, so I eat no processed sugar. And I'm always having people say, oh, no, it's okay, just one bite. Oh, you haven't tried this. This is great. You got to just have one. And then I usually say to them, okay, just one? Yeah, just one. Great, you have it. I don't do that. I don't eat sugar. Thank you. Feel free to eat as much as you would like, but I don't. So again, it comes down to that drawing the line in the sand. It's so much easier to draw a line in the sand when you know your values. When you know what you're willing to do and you know what you're not willing to do, it's so much easier to draw that line in the sand. And you don't have to be a jerk about drawing that line in the sand, but you got to do it. Otherwise, you're letting people just drag you around. It's like the tail wagging the dog. Here's another one. Here's another way of saying no. Give them another option. Give them another option. Here's an example we use in the book. If you're a caterer and someone comes to you and says, would you mind donating the catering to this nonprofit charitable event that we're doing? Well, what if you're reasonably new and you can't afford to cater a whole event? A great technique to use is, well, I'm afraid I can't do that. However, I can provide a couple of free gift certificates for people to, something off on some big catering event that they're doing, a percentage off on their catering event. And generally speaking, people will say, yeah, you're willing to do that? Yes, great. So offer another option. It's a great way of saying, no, I can't do that, but I am willing to do this, or I am able to do that. Learn how to say no. It will take you a long way in creating the room of your dreams. Here's another concept that's really important out of the book. The person may be in your room, but their baggage is not. Now, this is something that applies with somebody who's already in your life. They're in your room, and they got baggage, and they're always bringing the baggage into the relationship. And what you have to do is keep that line in the sand and say, you can't go past that. Well, let me give you a couple of examples. What I love about these two examples is that they're both from my co-authors, and it gives you two extremes in the way they deal with people. First, Rick, my co-author, Rick Sapio. Here's what he did about keeping the baggage out. He would call his mother every Sunday. His mother was aging, and he would call her every Sunday. He didn't have a very good relationship with her. She was pretty caustic, she was pretty toxic, but there's not much you can do, Your family is in your room. Like it or not, they're in your room. But he finally decided to draw a line in the sand and say, the baggage has to stay out. And so he said to her one day, when she was really getting toxic and talking about his brothers and sisters, and she was very angry and very difficult, he said to her, Mom, I love you very much, and I'm going to call you every week. However, when you start going down that road and talking about my brothers and sisters like that, I'm going to say to you from now on, I'm going to say to you, Mom, I love you. It was really good talking to you. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Bye. Click. Well, she didn't believe him. And next week, right out of the chute, she started talking about his brothers and sisters. And he stopped the call right there and he said, Mom, I love you a lot. I look forward to talking to you next week. I'll give you a call at the same time. Bye. Click. He said he did it for 3 weeks in a row. And he never did it again. He never had to do it again. For the rest of his mother's life, he said, we had great conversations every week. He says, as a matter of fact, at the end of her life, we had our best relationship because she was in my room, but the baggage had to stay out. What a great and powerful technique. But listen to the way he did it. He did it really, thank you. He did it very tactfully. So I like that approach. As a rule, I like that approach. Although, to be honest with you, in my natural state, I might do more of the other approach. The other approach was my other co-author, Stuart. Well, Stuart had a completely different approach with his mother-in-law. Now, Stuart's like 80 years old, and his mother-in-law is 98. Seriously. And his mother-in-law always gives him a bad time about what he eats and what he drinks. And she just goes harping on him. And one day he said, Doris, you know, stop telling me what I should or shouldn't do. I'm a grown-up, 80 years old. Stop telling me what I should or shouldn't do. Well, next time he spoke to her, she launched right off into what he should be eating, what he shouldn't be eating. And he just went, click, and hung up. And she called back. She said, Stuart, did you hang up on me? He said, no, Doris, I would never hang up on you, but my doorman did. Click. So, different approach. I'm not sure I would recommend the second approach, but it worked. Doris didn't give him a bad time anymore. Doris understood the doorman concept and who's in your room. They had talked about it. So she understood the concept. In either case, what you have to do is when you get good with your values, I keep coming back to values. You got to know your values. When you have your values, then you draw that line in the sand, and then it's very easy to say to people, you're in my life, but the baggage has to stay out. This is not okay. Now, how do we apply that in BNI? We have rules in BNI. There are policies in BNI. The truth is, BNI would not work if we didn't follow the system and the process. But it's how we apply it that matters. It's how we apply it that makes all the difference in the world. So one of the things I tell people is you've got to apply the rules to everyone, but apply them more like Mandela than Attila. Apply them more like Rick than the way Stuart did. And it's very easy sometimes to get frustrated with people and to get angry and just react when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But the truth is, great leaders understand the concept that they have to be diplomatic in the way they deal with members. When I was a young boy, my mother gave me a paperweight. And I still have that paperweight today. She gave it to me when I was about 13 years old, and the paperweight says, diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. Diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. And she said, son, I love you, but you're a bull in a china shop. You just knock stuff over. You knock people over. You got to learn how to work with people more effectively. And so when you're talking about people not following the process, having baggage that they bring into a chapter. You've got to work with them, but you've got to do it in a way that is diplomatic. Okay, here's a technique that's not in the book. This is just for BNI. It's called addition by subtraction. I didn't put this one in the book. Addition by subtraction. If you want to clean up your room a bit, if you want to clean up a chapter, if you want to grow a chapter, many times the way to have a chapter grow is to cut it back. Now, when I first started thinking about this, it came to me because my wife was doing some gardening, and she had about 50 rose bushes around our house. And I came home one day, and most of the rose bushes were cut way, way back. And I said to her, why did we cut all the rose bushes back so much? She says, well, if you want them to bloom, you have to cut them back. So the more you cut them back, the more they're going to bloom. And so I thought, wow, you know what, that applies to BNI chapters. That really applies to BNI chapters a lot. And so that's when I started working with chapters in relaunching them or having them grow by cutting them back. I had one chapter, I remember they had 19 members in the group, small group. And I got a president who said, I want this chapter to be 35, 40 members. I said, great. He said, what do I need to do? I said, how many of your members do you think are really, really committed to BNI? And he said, out of the 19, probably 14. I said, great. The first thing you want to do is cut 5 members. He said, no, wait, I want to go to 35, 40 members. I said, I know. You want to get to 35, 40 members? Cut it down to 14. And he ended up cutting it down to 15 members because 4 of those people just were not willing to make the commitment to do the things necessary to be successful in the chapter. He cut it down to 15 members. Within 6 months, it was almost a 35-member chapter within 6 months by cutting it down. Addition by subtraction. Sometimes the best way to create the room of your dreams is you can't remove them, but you can, what we talk about in the book, put them in a box and put them on a shelf. Get them out of the area right around you, in effect. Addition by subtraction. Okay. This is a concept that I really love, the idea of benign neglect. If you've got people in your life, people in your room, and by the way, let's talk about the room concept for a moment. What is the room? Let me show you. The room begins here and ends here. The room is your mind. And so when I'm talking to people, sometimes they go, well, my room, you know, it's not really one room. It's 5 rooms, or it's 10 rooms, or it's this or that. No, it's your mind. And so when I'm talking about these experiences that you have with people, it's the experiences that are in your head. It's the experiences that are in your mind. Now, one of those experiences that you can do planned or unplanned is this concept of benign neglect. Benign neglect works even if you don't want it to. For example, think about a friend that you had maybe in school as a child or as a young person, maybe in college or university. A friend that you had that you liked, they were good friends, but over the years you just lost touch with them. And through benign neglect, you kind of let the relationship dissipate over time. Imagine that you do that same thing, but with a plan. You have a plan. You have somebody who's difficult to work with, difficult to have a relationship with. And so what you do is just gradually over time, let that relationship dissipate. And one of the techniques that you can use to do that is the use of homeopathic doses. Homeopathic doses are the law of the minimum dose necessary. This is the law of the minimum dose necessary. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Imagine you're going to go to Mumbai, and you got a friend over in Mumbai. And you don't want to see that friend. It's somebody you've known for a long time. You probably should have never let them in your room, but they're in your room, And if you show up, they're going to be really upset with you that you didn't tell them you were going to be in town. So you got to tell them, because they're going to see it on Facebook. So instead of telling them the month before that you're going to be in Mumbai, you email them the night before. And you say, hey, I'm going to be in Mumbai tomorrow. I'm free between 1 and 1:30 if you'd like to get together for a cup of coffee. They may not even see the email. And you can go, oh, gee, I'm sorry. I sent it to you. I'm sorry you didn't get it. Or they may see it and then get together with you. But if it's a minimum dose, it's not, let's spend the whole day together with one another, which you probably don't want to do. Now, at some point, some people are going to say, wait a minute, won't they notice that you're gradually separating? Yeah, they might. They absolutely might. And that's okay. Because the truth is, in my experience, if you say to somebody, look, I don't want to spend time with you anymore because of whatever reasons, the reasons you have, that just generally creates conflict that isn't necessary. And so by gradually separating, at some point, these people will, in fact, often say, hey, I find that we're not connecting as often as we used to. And that's then your opportunity to say, yeah, you're right, we're not. I'd be happy to talk about it. There are reasons. And then are you willing, are you interested in hearing my reasons? Yes, here's why. Now at least they're more open to that kind of situation. I learned this concept actually from Elizabeth, who had a friend who she became friends with over time, but the longer they were friends, the more she realized that she used drugs a lot. And the more they were friends, the more Elizabeth realized that this was who that person was. And Beth just didn't want to hang out with her. And so she gradually let the relationship dissipate until the point at which the woman asked, how come we're not seeing each other quite as often? And it was very much easier for Elizabeth to have the conversation at that point. Well, that's not the kind of lifestyle that I feel comfortable with. And I can't say she liked that conversation, but she certainly was more prepared for that conversation because of what took place over time. So homeopathic doses, benign neglect, these are very good techniques to use with people that are already in your room. Now, let's just do a quick review. We've talked about the room concept. We talked about the doorman. We talked about the fact that you train your doorman on values. If you don't know your values, you're not going to know how to train your doorman. We talked about how you deal with certain people that are already in your room. We talked about resonance and dissonance, engines and anchors. We've talked about benign neglect, and we've talked about homeopathic doses. That's a lot of the book, but a large part of the book is at the end where we talk about, okay, so you've learned how to screen people out. You've learned a little bit about how to deal with people that you've already let in. Now, how do you live the life of your dreams? How do you live the life that you really, really want? How do you create the room that you really, really want? And so for me, a lot of people begin that conversation by saying, really, how do I live a life of balance? So, would you like to know the secret to balance? Yeah, all right. Here it is, the secret to balance. Forget about balance, you'll never have it. Now, there's one or two applause, not too sure. I generally hear somebody, and I heard someone in the audience tonight go, oh, I thought I was going to get something good. So, okay, I don't think balance is possible, and I think we're looking at this all wrong. We look at, especially as an entrepreneur, as a business person, our life is way out of balance. It's way out of balance. And so we look at balance like scales, just like those scales, where everything has to be like in perfect balance. Our business life has to be in balance with our personal life. Our family has to be in balance with our health, has to be in balance with our spirituality. And life just isn't that way. I've never found it to be that way. Life is more like a juggling act than it is creating balance. And so I don't think it's possible to have a life of balance, but it's not all bad news. I got good news. You may not be able to have a life of balance, but I think you can have a life of harmony. And this is more than semantics. This is definitely more than semantics. Even the graphic for harmony, the yin and the yang, even that graphic is out of balance if you separate them. Each one of them are out of balance. But you can create a life of harmony, a life that you love, by doing a number of techniques. First, understanding the balance is impossible. But when you understand that, what are some things that you can do to create a life that's full of harmony? Now, I'm going to give you some techniques that we have in the book to do that. And here's the first one. And probably, I think, the most important one to create a life of harmony. And it's so simple. At least it's simple sounding. It's 3 words. Be here now. Be here now. Wherever you are, be present. Don't be at home thinking about that project that has to be done at work. And don't be at work thinking about the fact that you didn't spend time with the family last night. The more you can be completely and fully present in the moment, the more you're going to create a life of harmony, as opposed to trying to create balance, because life is way out of balance. My son, when he was 17 years old, he's 26 now, so it was about 9 years ago. When he was 27 years old, we were sitting down playing a computer, as a matter of fact, it was Halo. We were playing Halo, he and I. And he was kicking my butt in Halo, right? So we're playing Halo, big screen TV, comfortable chairs, we're playing. And in the game, you level up, and it takes just a few minutes while it's leveling up. And while we were just sitting there, I said to him, I said, hey, buddy, was I around enough for you as you were growing up? And he looked at me like I was completely crazy. And he was like, what? I said, was I around enough? Was I here enough? He was like, you're here all the time. I'm like, okay. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm actually gone about every other week. I'm traveling. He's like, yeah, I know. But I don't know. It's like, when you're here, you're like, you're here. Can we get back to the game now? And I'm like, yeah, we can get back to the game now. I'm good. But to me, that was an example of trying to create a life of harmony rather than balanced. Understanding the concept of being present, being here. Nobody's perfect at this. I certainly was not perfect at it. But I tried as much as possible to be as fully present as I could be in whatever environment. So when I was at work, I was really focused on work. And when I was home, I was trying to be really focused on being home. Be here now. It's such a simple concept, but if you do it effectively, you can create a life of harmony. Now let's apply this in BNI. Be here now. Take your mobile device and shut it off at a BNI meeting. Shut it off. You're sitting in a room with 30, 50, 100 referral partners, and you're messing around with your mobile phone. If you're guilty of that, it's pretty easy to fix. Just shut it off. Put it on vibrate. Better yet, put it on stun, so that you stun it. You stun yourself when it rings. A mobile device does not allow you to be here now. It doesn't allow you to be present. If you want to be present at the meetings, you've got to set that aside. You got to be focused on the people in that room at that time and be there for them, because while they're speaking, this is an opportunity for you to be thinking about how you might be able to refer them, or it's your opportunity to be listening to them so that you can think of how you might be able to help them in some way. They might be teaching you another aspect of their business so that it makes it easier for you to give them referrals. Be here now. So important. Now here's another one. It's important to learn, if you want to create a life of harmony, to both let go and hold on. Now that sounds contradictory, but think about it. What is it that you would let go of? You'd let go of those things that aren't congruent with your values, those things that aren't important to you, those things that don't drive you forward. And you hold on to those things that are important to you, those values that you've created, those things that are important in your life, you hold on to for dear life. And so you have to learn what to let go of, and that means you have to learn how to say no. And you have to learn what to hold on to. By doing both of these, contrary to popular belief, you can't have it all. Nobody has it all. We have to make choices. And as we make these choices, you're able to live on that side of the line that you've drawn in the sand, where you said, this is where I want to be, this is who I want to be. And so it's such an important concept. Here's another one. Have margins. You've got to make room for what really matters. Everybody needs margins. Margins like a paper. You've got margins around a book. Gives you space. Ever since I was a young man, I would take a day a week, and it would be what I like to call my mental health day. I take it off. I don't work. I hang out at the house, swim in the pool, watch movies, watch TV, just relax. Vacation time, those are margins. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who say, yeah, I don't take much vacation. We knew a business person in California who once said to Elizabeth and I haven't had a vacation in 7 years. I said, are you an idiot? Seriously? You haven't had a vacation in 7 years. He was proud of it. I think that was a bad idea. You have to have vacation. That's part of your margins. You want to live a life of harmony? Have to have margins. Now, the margins don't have to be a week vacation. They don't have to be 1 day off. Sometimes a margin is just an hour. Elizabeth and I, one of the things we like to do on most evenings when we're at home, we live in Austin, Texas, and when we're at home, we like around 6 o'clock to have what we call wine o'clock. Wine o'clock. We pour a great glass of Cabernet, we go sit on the patio, and we watch the deer walk by or watch the wild turkey walk by and just talk and look at the property that we have. And so that's a margin. That's an opportunity to relax and be present. And so these are examples of the kinds of things that will help you create a life of harmony. Another one that I didn't put in here is time management. You got to really manage your time and be creative in the kinds of things that you do with your time. For example, when I wrote my first book, The World's Best Known Marketing Secret, my first major book, World's Best Known Marketing Secret, I wrote that book from about 11 p.m. to 4 or 5 a.m. once a week for more than a year. So once a week, I would start writing around 11 o'clock. I'd help put the kids to bed. I'd put the wife to bed. And then I would go to the office, and I would just, in my house, and just start writing. And it took about a year, but I wrote most of that book in the middle of the night, 1 day a week. That was one way I had of trying to create harmony, where I was fully present in writing the book, but I wasn't doing it during family time. When I came out with the book, my eldest daughter said to me, "You wrote a book? When did you write a book?" She had no idea that I was up at night after she was in bed working on a book. And so these are some of the ways that you can create a life of harmony. Here's the last one. Mentors. You got to have mentors. Now, one of the reasons that I made sure that I put up the networking mentor up here for you was I knew I was going to be talking about this subject. So download that book. It's free. Download that book tonight. Mentors will absolutely help you create a life of harmony, because they will teach you the things that are important to your values. When you know your values, you know what kinds of mentors you need to help achieve success based on your values. So you need mentors. Now, the truth is, we'll find some individuals in person who can be mentors, but many of us, certainly me, many of my mentors when I started business were virtual mentors. Now, virtual mentor for me 35 years ago meant I read a book. or I listened to a cassette tape. But today, virtual mentors are everywhere. There are podcasts, there's YouTube videos, there's social media content that you can get. Virtual mentors are everywhere. And so you want to find someone who you trust, somebody who's got values that are congruent, that are resonant with yours, and you want to use that person as a virtual mentor to help teach you how to be successful at whatever it is that you want to do in life. Virtual mentors and mentors will make a huge difference. I've had mentors and virtual mentors throughout my life. And interestingly enough, sometimes the virtual mentors, over time, as I became more successful, became real life, face-to-face, in-person mentors. People that I read about, people that I'd read their materials in books, listen to their material, and years later, they became friends. And so you never know where that virtual mentorship can actually lead you to. Here's actually the last thing that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to open it up for questions, and we're going to do about 30 minutes of Q&A. I'm happy to answer any question that you've got on any topic related to the material here tonight or BNI. If you have a question about BNI, I'm happy to answer that. If you have a personal question, I'm happy to answer that. And we'll do about 30 minutes of Q&A, and I think someone's going to walk around with a microphone to answer your questions, or to allow you to ask the question. Here's the last thing in creating a life of harmony versus balance. I think it's really important to work in your flame and not in your wax. Let me repeat that. You want to create a life of harmony? Work in your flame and not in your wax. When you're working in your flame, you're excited, you love what you're doing, you're passionate about it. But when you're working in your wax, it takes all of your energy away. You hate doing it. Now, look, I understand in running a business, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get to do what you want to do. But at some point, you have to have a plan to let go of that stuff that's your wax. I remember one of the first people I hired in BNI to fill that wax for me was accounting. I just don't like accounting. I can read a financial statement, but I'm just not a fan of accounting. It's my wax. And I remember I hired somebody, and she was really good at it, and she was passionate about it. And one day she came to me, and she said, "Your books were out of balance. It was 5 cents, 5 pennies out of balance. But it took me about 2 hours, but I found it. Your books are balanced." And I told somebody what she said, and he said, "Wow, she spent 2 hours to find 5 cents? Did you reprimand her?" I said, "No, I congratulated her." He said, "Why would you congratulate her? She spent 2 hours to find 5 cents. I said, "Yeah." And she was proud of it and excited about it. I said, "Could you imagine how hard she'd work if the books were off by $50? She wouldn't go home at night. Me, if it were $50 off, I'd say, yeah, close enough. I can live with it. But her, she was proud to make those books balanced. That's so my wax. But it's so her flame. And the more you can find ways to work in your flame and not in your wax, you're going to be able to create a life of harmony. A real believer in the law of attraction. I believe in setting intentions. I believe in having a plan and having goals, knowing what you want to achieve in life. Or I should say, and. I also believe that the law of attraction takes action. As a matter of fact, the word action is part of the word attraction. And so you can have all the attraction you want in life, but if you don't actually take action, the attraction doesn't work. And so we're talking about creating the life of your dreams. Thank you. We're talking about creating the life of your dreams, but if you don't take action on the things that we've talked about tonight, by creating the room, having a doorman, doing your values, learning these techniques to screen people and to deal with people that come into your room, learning how to create a life of harmony. If you don't take action to do these things, it's never going to come together. And I'm probably not the first person to tell you that the quality of your life depends on the people who are in your life, who are in your room, who are in your network. The quality of your life is highly dependent on the quality of the people around you. We all know this. Nobody's shocked by that. Let me tell you a story, and then we're going to open it up for questions. You are the curator of your room. You can make the choices. A number of years ago, I was in Maui. That's Kaanapali Shores in Maui. And I was out in the ocean, and I was about chest deep, walking on the sand in the ocean. Beautiful day, just like this, sunny. And as I was walking along, I started to have this stinging sensation across my chest. It's a really stinging sensation. When I looked down, I couldn't see anything. And so I went like this, and I held my arm up, and there were these tentacles hanging from my arm. And I followed the tentacles out about 15 feet, long ways away. And there I saw this big blob, this jellyfish. And I thought, uh-oh, that looks like a Portuguese man of war. I'd never seen one. I've seen them in books. But that kind of looks like a Portuguese man of war. And I just had it right across my chest. And then I went like this across my wrist, got the tentacles off. But I thought, if that's a Portuguese man of war, those could be deadly. So I swam ashore, got ashore, and there's a cabana boy, a young kid, probably 16 years old. And I said to him, hey, look, I think I just got hit by a Portuguese man of war. And he looked at my chest and he went, yeah, that looks like a Portuguese man of war. I said, what do I do? He said, well, are you feeling dizzy? I said, no. He said, any shortness of breath? Can you breathe all right? Yeah. You have any chest pains? I said, no chest pains. He said, okay, it's no big deal. Just go on into the lobby, go to the front desk, turn left. There's a little market down the hall. Go into the market, buy some Adolph's meat tenderizer and some vinegar, powder up your chest, and then pour the vinegar on and just rub it all in. I said, right. Thank you. And I figured this guy didn't know what he was talking about. He was a kid. He didn't know what he was talking about. So then I went to a gentleman who was a little older. He was probably in his mid-20s. He was a waiter. He was outside. And I walked up to him, and I figured that, the kid didn't know what he was doing. This guy might know. And I said, hey, look, I think I just got hit by a Portuguese man of war. And he looked at my chest. He said, yeah, it looks like a Portuguese man of war. I said, well, what do I do? He said, okay, do you feel dizzy? I said, no. He said, shortness of breath. Can you breathe okay? I said, yes. He said, chest pains. Do you have any chest pains? I said, no. He said, okay, fine. Just go on into the lobby, turn left, go down the hall, go into a little market. In the market, you want to buy some Adolph's meat tenderizer and some vinegar. You want to powder up your chest. You want to pour the vinegar on. You want to rub it all in. I said, yeah, okay. I walked away. Now I'm thinking, all right, the staff actually had a meeting to talk about how to goof on the tourist, because there's probably some video cameras around, and they're going to videotape me as I'm sitting there rubbing my chest and putting all this stuff in. So I figure I'm going to ask one more person. I'm going to ask the manager. I see the manager in the lobby. I go into the lobby. There's the manager. Manager's got a little gray hair. He's the boss. He's not going to steer me wrong. So I walk on up to the boss and I say, hey, look, I think I just got hit by a Portuguese man of war. And he looks at my chest and he goes, yeah, looks like a Portuguese man of war. I'm like, what do I do? He said, well, do you feel dizzy? I said, no. He said, shortness of breath. Can you breathe okay? I said, yes. He said, chest pains. Do you have any chest pains? I said, no. He said, okay, it's not a big deal. Just go down the hall, turn left. There's a little market. Go in the market. Buy some Adolph's meat tenderizer and some vinegar. Powder up your chest, put the vinegar on, rub it all in, you'll be fine. Like, really? All right. I give. Fine. So I go down the hall, go into the store, go into the market. I find the Adolph's. No, I find the vinegar. I couldn't find the Adolph's. Couldn't find it. There was none there. And I'm looking all around, and while I'm looking around, just feeling a little bit lightheaded. And I'm looking on the shelves. I found I was having a little bit of breathing. And then it was like somebody was pushing on my chest, just applying pressure on my chest. And then it was like somebody was sitting on my chest. And I stumbled out of the store, stumbled to the lobby, get to the lobby, and there in the lobby, I'm standing there in the middle of the lobby, guests are coming in, people are all around, and I just kind of sit down in the middle of the lobby and then go, fall flat on my back in the middle of the lobby. I'm out almost cold, huge chest pains. And while I'm lying there, just a bathing suit, just hanging there on the lobby floor, and I look around and there are like people with luggage coming on up and then walking around. There's this little girl with her mother, and the little girl says, "Look, Mommy, there's a man on the floor." And the mother says, "That's what happens when you do drugs." I'm lying there, I'm going, no, it's not drugs, it's jellyfish. And she's like, "Let's leave immediately." It gets the little girl out of there. I'm lying there, it's horrible. And they call the paramedics, and within minutes, the paramedics get there. I hear the sirens. I see two guys running out. They've got a box. I think they have a defibrillator, right? They're gonna say, "Clear," and go boom. They open up the box, and in the box, they pull out a bottle of Adolph's meat tenderizer and some vinegar. They take the Adolph's meat tenderizer, they powder up my chest, they have the spray bottle of vinegar, they spray my chest, and there's two paramedics rubbing my chest as I'm lying in the middle of the lobby with people all around me. Now what's interesting is the meat tenderizer has an enzyme in it that counteracts the poison of a jellyfish. And the vinegar is a catalyst that powers it right into the skin so that the meat tenderizer has the enzyme has a quick reaction with the jellyfish poisons. And so what happens is it almost immediately starts to reverse. It goes from really hard chest pains to just pressure, to being dizzy. It just literally reverses out within moments. Within 3-4 minutes, I'm sitting up, I'm just fine. Here's the lesson in this story. I had 3 people tell me what to do. I didn't listen to any of them. Had I listened to any one of them before, if I had listened to the first 2, I would not have had a huge paramedics bill come in. But no, I knew better. I didn't live in the area, but I knew better. These were kids. They were young. They didn't know what they were doing. And so I didn't listen to them. How often have people told you that the people you surround yourself with will make a huge difference in your life? We've heard it our entire lives. Let this be the last time you hear it before you do something about it. Do something about it now. Make sure that the people you surround yourself with are the people that are engines in your life, that are resonant with your values. Sit down and think about what your values are, and then train your doorman to make sure that the people you're surrounding yourself with will make a positive difference in who you are and what you do in your life. All right. let's open it up for some questions. I've got about 30 minutes worth of questions, about 25 minutes of questions, and then I have one last thing that I'll talk about, and we'll take it from there. We have one question right there. Yeah. We're going to get a microphone.
So members, Ivan here is ready to take a few questions, and we want very specific questions, and you'll have to get them by Balaji, who's standing there, while Ivan answers your questions for you. Thank you for your cooperation. Please go ahead.
And let's make sure it's a question,
Yeah.
not a presentation. Thank you. And I'm happy to take any question. It could be on the stuff I did tonight. It could be about BNI, or it could be a personal question. Go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Meissner.
Hi.
I just want to have this question. I'm just 6 months old in BNI, and I'm managing a region. What exactly do you think is the future of BNI in India, across the world?
No, hold it.
So I believe presently BNI has 260,000 members. I believe that within the next
full speed. So
5 years or more, we could actually double that to almost 500,000.
We gave a lot of awards.
But here's the big thing that I think you'll be most interested in. I believe that by the year 2019, India will be the largest country for BNI in the world.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 awards.
I believe you will have more chapters here in India than in the United States. In the United States is where we started BNI. We have almost 40,000 members in the United States, but I think that in the next 5 to 10 years you could easily surpass that. You're already at 30,000 members in 1/3 the time. In 1/3 the time, you're at 2/3 the size of the United States. I think India is going to be the powerhouse for the organization.
We can give it, but these awards we think.
And let me just add one thing to it. Our vision statement is changing the way the world does business.
So then,
We can't change it with a few dozen people in a room. You change the way the world does business by having a lot of people changing the way the world does business. And so that's why we think it's important to hit the 1 million member mark, and that's what our goal is, to hit the 1 million member mark within the next 10 years or so.
Awards, knowledge bank
Thanks.
awards, and showstopper.
Ivan, good evening. We love you here in Bangalore.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. When you came over all over from San Diego, Mumbai, Bangalore, I just wanted to know one thing you take back as a positive sign when visiting our place.
Could you repeat that?
I wanted to know one positive thing which you want to take back from this visit.
Hold on.
One thing that I want to take back from this visit?
Yes?
Well, look to my wife. What do we want to take back? I know. I want to take back this beautiful sari that my wife is wearing. So, in addition to that, I think that the thing that I always take back, and I'm sure I'll take back again this time, is, I don't know how else to say it other than the love of the members that I always meet here in Bangalore. Yeah. Thank you.
Howdy. You said you're from Texas. I was in US for the past 4 years, and it's a wonderful place today. And thanks for giving us a fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
I had one question for you, as in, if you were to give one advice for your 26-year-old son, what would that be?
That's a great question. If I were to give one bit of advice to my 26-year-old son, what would it be? And I can tell you that I've given him this advice. He has just started a game programming company in the United States. So by the way, if any of you are in the game programming industry, I would love to have a quick chat with you, because he could use a mentor in this business. Or if you know somebody in the game programming business.
I do.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'd love to talk to you. I'll tell you one of the things I've said to him that I say to everybody in business when they ask me for advice on how to be successful in business. And it's interesting, it's funny, as your children, when your children are in their teens, you're an idiot to them. But your IQ goes up sometime in their 20s. And so my IQ has gone up a little bit with my son. So he is coming to me and asking for advice. And I'll tell you one of the things I said to him, if you want to be successful in business, do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
That's wonderful.
Business people are constantly chasing these bright, shiny objects. And they try this a little bit and that doesn't work. Then they try this a little bit and that doesn't work. And they try this a little bit and that doesn't work. Instead, what you want to do is you want to talk to your mentors about what you should be doing. And don't have 3 people tell you what to do and not listen to them. Yeah. Have one person you trust tell you, and then do that 1,000 times. And by the way, it doesn't have to be 6, it could be 5, it could be 7. But as you do a handful of things and you do it over and over and over again, think about BNI. BNI is about getting up once a week and showing up and doing a whole set of things every week, and then the next week do it again, and the next week do it again, and the next week do it again. And if you do that for a few years, you build a huge successful business. BNI is a great example of doing 6 things 1,000 times. Great question. Thank you.
I think a good mentor helps, right? Thank you.
A good member helps, yeah. Thank you.
Ivan, great as usual. One question. You said one way to say no is to refer them to somebody else. Now, how can I do it without making them feel that I'm kind of brushing them off?
Well, it's easy to make somebody feel like you're brushing them off if you act like you don't care. One of the ways to show that you do care is to, in fact, say to them, if I took that on, I'd let you down, and I don't want to let you down. And I've said that to people. I've said, I am so busy, my bandwidth is so full, that if I took that project on or if I tried to help you with that, I would absolutely let you down. However, I do know someone who this is the kind of thing they do. I think they have some free time to do it. Let me introduce you to them. Don't just brush them off. Set up, okay, in a good referral, shouldn't you put the 2 people together?
That's
it's
correct.
the same thing. You put the 2 people together so that you make sure there's a handoff and you maintain the relationship. That's the way you do it.
So make that connection, you say.
Yeah, make that connection. Absolutely. Great question. Thank you
so much.
Next.
Morning, Ivan. This is Kishore from Mysore. I have a simple question, actually. Today, BNI is a very successful organization all over the world, and I would like to congratulate you on behalf of that. What is my question is, what is that one success practice which you've been doing from the inception of BNI? The one success practice you had.
Well, I've already given several. I'll give you another one. I talked about working in your flame, not in your wax. That was very important to me from the early days of the organization, working in my flame, doing the things that I was passionate about. That's an important one. Doing 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times. That's another really important one. I have always been a believer. At first you're going to think, oh, yeah, everybody says this. I've been a believer in setting goals. You have got to set goals. You can't hit a target you're not aiming at. And so when I realized that BNI was going to be a much larger organization than I anticipated, because I didn't start BNI to be a global organization. I started BNI to get referrals for my consulting business and to help my friends. That was it. You know how many chapters I planned on having? 1. That was it. But people kept coming to me and asking me to open up another one and open up another one and open up another one. And at the end of the year, we ended up with 20 chapters. I opened 20 chapters in 1 year with no materials at all. Because I realized people were really hungry for referrals and they didn't know how to do them. It was at that point in December of 1985 that I sat down and created my plan for having BNI scale. And at that point, I thought it was possible. I didn't quite know how we were going to get there, but I thought it was possible to have 10,000 chapters someday.
Oh, brilliant.
As of yesterday, I believe we have 9,148 chapters worldwide.
Brilliant.
So let me give you one other step that may be different from what you've heard from other people saying goals. You got to set a goal, but then you have to reverse engineer that goal. You have to reverse engineer it. So you set a goal for where you want to be in 12 months. Now, where do you want to be in 11 months, in 10 months, in 9 months, in 8 months, in 7 months? Where do you want to be in 3 months, 2 months? Where do you want to be at the end of this month? And then you want to look at that every week at least. I can tell you exactly how many chapters we have every day. I got the report yesterday, 9,148. We had just right at 260,000 members worldwide. I get a daily report. So you have to track that. What happens is people set a goal, and they're 3, 4, 5 months into the year, and they go, oh, you know what? I set a goal for this year. Where is that goal? And they pull it out, and they go, man, I'm not even close. Well, they're not close because they're not tracking it. So you don't just set a goal. You've got to reverse engineer it and then track it. Okay? Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir.
Next question.
It is Sudhakar Jain. I am here in BNI for past 7 years. The one thing every meeting excites me is that the way meeting ends with the script, the next week meeting starts now.
I don't understand the question.
Would somebody?
In our chapter meetings, when we end the meeting, the president says the next week's meeting starts now. So.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So the question?
Just, I'm curious to know who discovered this script and when it discovered.
The truth is, I don't see that script being used in other countries. So that's an add-on that India kind of tacked on.
So India discovered that script.
All right, I'll go with that. I don't know the answer to that question because that's not a standard script.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It is, however, accurate. I mean, the meeting really does start now because the truth is that at the end of your meeting, that's when the real networking begins. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Kaustubh, and I'm from a very small town called Kolhapur. We have recently started a region last year. My question is, being a consultant, what would be your take in this fast-changing world? How a businessman should look at their business and analyze to get ready for this coming future in this fast-changing world?
Well, that's a really, really big question. Are you able to narrow it down a little bit? Because I could probably spend a 2-hour presentation on that topic. Can you narrow that down a little bit?
What one thing the businessman should look at when he's looking at a future and changing the business dynamics?
So I think one of the things that any business needs to stay on top of is the technology and where the technology is going, because the technology can be a game changer. The technology can be a very disruptive environment for a lot of businesses. Kodak Film Company actually invented the digital camera. They invented the digital camera. They decided to license it to other people because they didn't want to hurt their film business. How'd that work out for them? Right. Not so well. One of the largest retailers in the world, they weren't in India, but they were one of the largest. They were at one time the largest retailer in the world, Sears. They grew their business off a catalog. The Sears catalog 100 years ago, everyone in North America used the Sears catalog to buy products, even in rural parts of America. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, everybody used the catalog. In 1993, Sears closed down their catalog because they didn't see a future for ordering out of a catalog. In 1994, Amazon opened their business. Had Sears stayed on top of the technology, they would have realized that there was actually going to be a resurgence of the catalog, not an ending of the catalog. It would just take place in a different way.
Yep.
And so I think one of the things that we need to do as business people is keep an eye on the technology and learn from it. Learn from the disruption that has happened to others so that we can be the disruption and not be disrupted. Make sense?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Isaac. This is Yusuf Master. My question is, at the start of our entrepreneur's journey, we have a very strong why, and we know what to do. But down the line in 5-10 years, a lot of people join us as we grow, and the why goes very strong and the why fizzles out. What goes very strong and the why fizzles out. Now
wait, repeat that for me. The why goes very strong.
The what goes very strong and the why fizzles out. So how to keep the why intact and live on the legacy?
How do you keep the why intact?
Intact, okay. And keep on with the legacy.
Okay, so the way to keep the why intact in BNI, you're talking about BNI.
BNI or...
It's all about culture. It's all about the organizational culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the greatest strategy in the world, but if you don't have a fantastic organizational culture, you are not going to succeed in business. If you have a great strategy and a great culture, you're going to be the industry leader. Nobody can touch you. BNI has 9,100 chapters all around the world. We're not the only network that's out there, but we have a culture that is very unique based on a philosophy called giver's gain. And so the way to keep the why alive is to focus on the culture and the core values. One of the things I recommend that chapters do is periodically have somebody stand up. Maybe the president does this, or the education coordinator does this, and you pick one of the core values and you tell somebody a week in advance so they're prepared. I'm going to call on you and ask you to do one of these core values. You pick. And I want you to talk about why that core value is important to you and how you see it being done well in the chapter. And then you stand up and talk about that core value, and then a couple of weeks later have somebody else talk about a different core value, and then a couple of weeks later have somebody else talk about a different core value. In order to maintain the culture, you have to maintain the core values. And so an emphasis on the core values is critical to maintain the culture, which keeps the why. And here's how you create culture in an organization. This is how BNI created culture. You look at processes that work. Those processes become your organizational traditions. Your traditions become your core values, and your core values create your culture. And so if you really want to hang on to that culture, you go back to those core values that are based on the traditions that made the organization successful. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much.
Great question.
Good evening, Dr. Ivan Meisner.
Hi.
BNI members all over the world, they speak one language, is referral language.
Yes.
The day is not far off, the BNI will be spread over all the country in the world. Today, we started this event with the national anthem. Now, every BNI event,
Give me a question.
Question is, every BNI event, why not we have the BNI anthem? Why not we create like that so that, that will be the universal thing. When BNI is going to be so universal all the world, how about having BNI anthem all over the world when we start the event?
I'll pass that on to the global support team, see if they like that idea. It's not a bad idea. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Good evening, Ivan. This is Dr. Pradeep here. India loves Ivan as much as Ivan loves India. The question that I wanted to ask you as a doctor was, what went through your mind when you were diagnosed with prostate cancer?
Yeah.
And what were those values in life that helped you overcome this dreaded disease?
Yeah, thanks. So what you're making reference to is 6 years ago I was diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer. And what went through my mind was, oh crap. Seriously, I was surprised. I was 56, 57 years old, and so I was definitely surprised. To tell you the truth, I was very Western medicine oriented. And, the doctor said to me, you have 6 months before you must get surgery. But that's it, 6 months. And if you don't get surgery in 6 months, it's going to be really, really serious. And so he said, that gives you at least enough time to figure out what kind of surgery you want to do. Now, Elizabeth has always been very more holistic medicine oriented. And so she took me to a doctor who was kind enough to see me on the weekend. I talked to the guy on a Sunday at his house. And he said, I understand you want to do surgery, but the truth is, this is something that you can fix yourself. You can cure yourself. I didn't buy it for a second, not for a second. But I was overweight. I wasn't in best of health. So he gave me this protocol. I figured I'll follow the protocol. I'm all in. That's where I don't eat sugar comes from. I'm all in. And in 6 months, I'll be healthier so that when I have to pick the kind of surgery that I got to pick, then I'll be in a better position. And the surgery, it has really bad side effects for men. So, I wanted to be very careful. Well, I discovered that as I went on this protocol, my numbers got better and better and better and better and better. And at 6 months, the doctor who said you need surgery in 6 months, he said, well, what are you doing? Actually, that's the first thing he said was, what are you doing? I told him what I was doing. He's like, yeah, it can't be that. He said, all right, come back in a month. I came back in a month, and the numbers were even better, the scans were even better, and he said, okay, tell me again, what are you doing? And I told him again. He's like, yeah, it can't be that. Come on back in a month. And so I went back to him for like 3 or 4 months in a row, and at the end of about 10 months, he said, you're in remission. I don't understand why, I don't get it can't be the food, it's gotta be something else. So it has now been over 6 years. I have not had surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy, and I'm in remission with numbers way better than when I was expected. So the whole story is in a book that Elizabeth and I wrote called Healing Begins in the Kitchen. Healing Begins in the Kitchen. And that book and Elizabeth's book, Healing Can Be Easy, are both available on Amazon. Thanks for asking.
Long live. Thank you.
But I got time for 1, maybe 2 more questions at most. Go ahead.
Good evening, Dr. Meissner. My name is Piyush Bekhani. I'm glad you're with us today. So I'm a founding president, and I want to know how I can motivate my other leaders or other, role members in my chapter.
How do you motivate? What a great question. How do you motivate members? All right, you want to know the secret to motivation?
Yes.
You can't. You can't motivate people. I can't motivate you. You can't motivate someone else. The best we can do is inspire them to motivate themselves. Only the individual can motivate themselves. And one of the ways you can get someone to motivate themselves is to always talk about the why on any issue. Whatever the issue is, don't tell them how to fix it. Tell them why it needs to be fixed. What's the why? When people understand the why, they're much more likely to be motivated to make the change. If all you do is describe the how or what they're doing wrong and how they need to fix it, they're not going to listen. But if you can tell them why, then you've inspired them to motivate themselves. Make sense?
Thank you so much.
Last question. Last question, and then I have something to wrap up with.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Nakul here. What is the role of a doctor, value of a doctor in BNI?
Can you put the microphone a little closer? I can't hear you.
Yeah. I'm Dr. Nakul here. What is the role of a doctor? Or being a doctor, how we can contribute to the BNI and otherwise?
I think the question is, what is the role of a doctor and how can they...
Yeah. How can I invite doctors? Because I'm finding very difficulty in inviting the doctors. They say, few of the doctors, they take it seriously, and 90% I got no. And Jinai, no. The reason being, it's a business organization. What role do I have in BNI? Why should I come? And I'm very sorry to say this. They also say it's mere waste of my professional time in BNI, just spending a lot of time in the BNI meetings.
So you've got a complex question that really can't be answered in a minute. And so what I would recommend that you do is sit down with your director consultant or your area director and have this kind of conversation, because you got to really go deeper. Now, I see medical doctors in chapters all around the world, so I know they join. I was just in Mumbai yesterday, and I met a surgeon who is a member of BNI. The thing is, I don't have the answer to the question, but you need to sit down and talk to your local director and go deep to figure out ways that you can invite appropriate doctors. And different countries have different medical systems, where a medical doctor in the US you get very few, but in other countries you do get medical doctors who join. So I can't answer the question for you adequately here on stage.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm out of time.
With your permission, thanks for coming here. And how do you rate Bank 2009? You've seen so many member days in a scale of 10.
I would give it a 10 for sure. So far, so good. All right. Thank you. Let me just wrap up with one last story, and we're done for the day. And then I'm going to open it up. Wait, where'd my slide go? Give me my slide back. Give me my slide back. Okay. I said I had one more story. Let me just start it. There's a young police cadet. Go to the last slide. There was a young police cadet who was sitting for his first year exams at the police college in London, where he read the following question: Really? You're going to go slide by slide? I love it. Okay, open it up. Go to the last slide. Click on that. So maybe we can play some Bollywood music or something? He's going to do slide by slide. All right, well, we'll get there. This is a review of my presentation for you today. There we go, yes. There it is, second to the last slide. It's the police guy right there. Oh, just open it. All right, thank you. Check, 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 Mike. There was a young police cadet who was sitting for his first year exams at the police college in London where he read the following question. You're messing with me. He read the following question. You are out on the beat one morning when you hear an explosion in a nearby street. You run to the scene where you find a car lying on its side. Both of the occupants are okay, but you notice the strong smell of alcohol in the car, and you see that the passenger is the wife of the divisional inspector. Just at that moment, a man comes running from a nearby house, screaming that his wife has gone into labor and needs help to deliver the baby. As you turn to look down the street, you see that a jogger is approaching who you recognize to be a notorious criminal wanted for armed robbery. The question in the exam went on to say, in the light of the Criminal Act of 1990, please describe how you would deal with each and every one of these situations and in what order of priority. The police cadet wrote one simple answer, one simple sentence in response to the question. He wrote, I would take off my uniform and mingle with the crowd. It took a while to get there, but we got there. Sometimes when somebody gives you a new idea or something to think about, there's a lot of stuff that you're dealing with. You've got all these things coming. I gave you so much to think about. It's a small book, but this full of content and ideas. Don't just take off your uniform and mingle with the crowd. What you got to do is take a look at these concepts one step at a time. Think about them. Start with your values and start applying the concepts that I shared with you today. Apply them not only in your personal life, apply them in your BNI chapter. Because if you apply these concepts in your life, you will absolutely change your life. The truth is that the quality of your life depends on the people in your life. When you design your room, you transform your life. Now take control of your room, take control of your life, and create the life of your dreams. Thank you all very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a standing ovation for Dr. Ivan Meisner?
Control, when Anita is around, go.
Oh, sir, Abhishek, nice to meet you. I now request Mrs. Beth Meisner also to please come on stage. We're going to felicitate them.
Literally the doorman.
Once again, guys, we need a bigger applause, some hoots, some claps. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, once again for Dr. Ivan Meisner. And the traditional peta.
Hello, check.
And nothing that I have to do nothing much.
So that was an amazing session by Ivan, right? So one big round of applause. Hello, check.
And nothing that I have to do nothing much.
So that was an amazing session by Ivan, right? So one big round of applause.
We have, before Dr. Ivan Mehta will be coming here for signing the books, all the people who have purchased the book right in the morning, so please be ready in the hall. You can wait there, and then we have, before Dr. Ivan Mehta will be coming here for signing the books, all the people who have purchased the book right in the morning, so please be ready in the hall. You can wait there, and then I don't know if you have to sign the book personally, photograph the book, and then we will be a official photographer who will take the picture while I is making. Okay, so in the meantime, so I want to show you
what has happened in the whole day. Okay, so
I don't know if you have to sign the book personally, photograph the book, and then we will be a official photographer who will take the picture while I is making. Okay, so in the meantime, so I want to show you
what has happened in the whole day. Okay, so we have a timeline video for just 2 minutes. So I request you to watch this. There is an amazing effort put in by all the people. So let's see the timeline. For just 2 minutes. So I request you to watch this. There is an amazing effort put in by all the people. So let's see the timeline.
Lovely. I love it. Yeah, video. Okay, guys, watch the video. Bang the Unseen. It's a 2 minute behind the scenes. 2 minute behind the scenes. Lovely. I love it. Yeah, video. Okay, guys, watch the video. Bang the Unseen. It's a 2 minute behind the scenes. 2 minute behind the scenes time lapse. Wow.
Yeah, I request everyone to sit down, please.
Wow.
Yeah, I request everyone to sit down, please. Please sit down. Please sit down. Yeah, please sit down. Just 2 minutes, especially people in the front. Please sit down. Please sit down. Yeah, please sit down. Just 2 minutes, especially people in the front. So that's Bang for you. And at this point of time, I would also like to acknowledge the Ganesh who did the Bang song. So the entire Bang song was composed and sung by his team. So thank you, Ganesh, from High Flyers chapter. So wherever you are, thank you so much, Ganesh, for the fantastic work on the theme song. Thank you very much. Huh? Yeah.
One second, hold on.
Okay, we have Mac here, the President, Global Markets. So yeah, Mac, we request you to say a few words to the audience here. So thank you so much for making with, in spite of such a busy schedule, so thank you so much for coming. So over to you, Mac.
Coming back home. So thank you very much. So I'm not sure if we're going to be running the PPT, but Ivan's going to be doing the signatures now, right? So we can go in for that, yeah? So just a few words. I know that I was supposed to talk on scaling up and Anant and Balaji. First of all, Balaji, Anant, please come, Balaji. I want to thank both Balaji and Anant because the three of us started Bangalore, in 2007. It was an amazing journey, and a lot of the things that we set as process in Bangalore got replicated across India, and some of them are now getting replicated across the world. So I really appreciate both of you as partners and people that have helped grow not only Bangalore but India as such. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for inviting me here. And I apologize for coming late. We had a meeting in Mumbai, and our flight got quite delayed coming in. So thank you very much, Balaji and Anand. And thanks for continuing to grow Bangalore and taking it to greater heights. Guys, give yourselves a big hand. What a phenomenal event this has been. What a phenomenal event this has been. I'm not sure how many minutes I have. I had like 10 minutes or 12 minutes. Do I still have that, or am I just wrapping up now?
Ivan couldn't go for the book.
Yeah, you can ask
Ivan. Continue with
I know Ivan is going to request Ivan to start off the book signing for the people who have. And for those who are going to hang out here, I know a few of you are going to hang out here. I will continue to entertain you while Ivan finishes the signatures, if that's okay. Balaji, Anand and I will dance. The Russian dance. Okay, let's get started. While I'm going to skip through a lot of these. This is something that I want to share with you. We are about 260,000 members right now worldwide, of which we have about 70,000 in Asia Pacific, 84,000 in Europe, 86 in North America, 12,000 in Latin America, and 6,000 in Middle East. So many times we are not aware of where the demographic of our BNI members are located. Okay, it has taken us about 30 years to get to 250,000. How many years? 30 years. So now we are embarking upon a journey that's going to take us to 1 million members. Isn't that an awesome goal to have? 1 million members in not 300 years, but 1 million members in 10 years. My vision is, how do we take what we have right now and multiply it by 4? Which means, if you guys in Bangalore are around 2,500 members, what should you be in 10 years? What is the vision that you have for Bangalore? Can I hear? 1:4, multiply by 4. So don't you think Bangalore should at least be 10,000 members? Is that a goal that we need to aspire for? Because we are taking the world 4 times plus. And when we take the world 4 times plus, we are going to have Asia Pacific at 400,000 members. And Atul has already, we are on the path that we have set. By end of 2020, we will be 50,000 members in India. End of next year. Okay? And by end of 2028, out of the 400,000, 100,000 is going to be in India. Of the 100,000, how much does Bangalore want as a slice of it? 10,000 is a good number, maybe more. Okay, Bangalore has been one of the first franchisee for, we didn't even know it was a franchise when we got started. We just started because of passion. We just invited a few friends over to the office, and that's how we got started. So I think 10,000 is a good goal to aspire, and this is how the Bangalore membership trend has been for the last few years. And the goal is at least 2020. I'm sure your Anant and Balaji would have set a particular goal, but I think by end of 2020, we need to actually break barriers. It doesn't matter where you are now. It didn't matter that India was 9,800 members in 10 years. Do you agree? Now where are we? We are breaching 30,000 members, and that happened in a 3-year cycle. Triple it. So don't worry about where you are right now. We have to break the mental mindset of where we are right now and see what can we do to really scale. And India, the way we scaled it, of course, it was because of two things. We did trainings across India, and we built amazing teams across India. You could not have pulled off such a fantastic event if you did not have a fantastic team behind this. Whoever organized this, give them a big hand. It takes a lot of effort to pull off a fantastic event like this, and Bangalore has been doing this successfully for several years now. I'm not going to be covering the Egypt story today because of lack of time, but I'm not going to cover the Bob story or any of these. You may have to come for one of my other presentations. But this is something that I promised Balaji I will cover, and this is talking about the 3 stages in life. And as business owners, we have all crossed these, many of us have crossed these stages. When I started the business here in Bangalore, and there's something called the survival stage. Survival stage is when the money in the month is much longer than the money in your pocket. You don't know how to pay your rents. You don't know how to pay your salaries that are coming up. Have anybody experienced this in your starting stages of your business? There you go, sir. Many of us. I think it's a very humbling stage in a business cycle for us to go through that stage. But what happens is that stage, I remember many nights when I used to wake up in the middle of the night not knowing how I can pay the salaries. The first of the month used to be mostly the nightmare for me when the first is coming around. But then what happened is we then, as business owners, we learn how to overcome challenges, and we get into what we call the stability stage. The stability stage is where things are being met, expenses are being met, right? And we are now in a process of some stability level. But this is a stage which many times is a dangerous stage, because as the stability increases, you can get complacent. I don't need to work 5 days a week. I'll work 3 days a week. I'll work 1 day a week. It's good. But you need to make sure somebody else is growing your business. My vision for BNI, and for those of you in this room, is we need to get into the stage of abundance. No excuses at stability stage. We have to get the stage of abundance. We need to make more money than our pockets can hold. We need to be oozing with money. I'll tell you why. It's very important. Please understand this. At any given point in time in this world, at this very moment, would you agree with me that there's only a finite amount of money? Whether you have a Swiss bank account or a US account, it does not matter. There's only one finite amount of money in the world right now. It is our responsibility as business leaders to make sure that income flows through us. Because if it flows through us, we're able to provide employment. We're able to deploy it for the good. Because that money will flow. It is like a river. It is flowing down. And if we do not channelize it through us, it will channelize it in the wrong hands. It will go into drugs. It will go into all things that are not healthy for this world. You got it? So we as business owners, we have to get into the stage of abundance. Only at the stage of abundance, we will start thinking about the community around us. We will start doing things like what the BNI Foundation is doing, or Business Voices is doing. I remember in the first stage, when we were in the survival stage, when I was in the US, when I went to the US, I only had half a semester's fees. There was no money even to buy a comforter in the cold nights in Indiana. It took me 6 months to even save $60 to go buy a comforter and come. I still have that comforter in the house. I value it. That's one of my most valuable assets even today. The fact that I was able to buy a comforter after 6 months of being in the cold. So that survival stage is something that if you've gone past it, we are now in the stability stage. In the survival stage, if you're a brand new business owner, BNI is a very good environment. Because if I had known BNI, it wouldn't have taken me 3 years to stabilize my business. BNI environment stabilizes a business within the first 12 to 18 months. Because not only are you getting referrals, you're able to get other mentoring happening in the network. So in my mind, if you are a chapter less than 35, you are a survival stage chapter. I don't even look at numbers at less than 35. It is not. We have a duty to grow. We have a duty to go to abundance. If you're a chapter around 50, you are in the stability stage. Survival stage chapters, at best, it's, you may get a referral once a month or twice a month. Not everybody's getting a referral. You have a bunch of guys getting a lot of referrals and a bunch of guys not getting any referrals. That is survival stage chapter below 35. It is like going and standing in the runway in the airport, and if I just stand enough long in the airport, one airplane is going to hit me. That is, one referral is going to come and hit me at the survival stage at 35. You understand? So we need to go at the stability stage. At 50, you will get more referrals, but you'll probably convert, out of the referrals you're getting, you'll probably convert 1 client a month. When you are in the stage of abundance at 75 plus, you are converting new clients every month. And that is the stage it's going to be rocking. Yesterday in Mumbai, I presented, it's not here, the slide is not here because I didn't have time to edit through my slides. But when we started India in 2016, when we restarted India, there was hardly any chapters which we call $1 million chapters. Is your chapter doing 7 crores a month? When I went to the US, they were telling me, $1 million chapter, it's, if our chapter did, in 12 months, we did $1 million. When I came back to India, I did not message. I said, we all need to be $1 million chapters, but I didn't tell them it's for a whole year. I said it's for a month. And that's when the visioning started in India. Okay? And now we have, guys, we have 25 chapters, $1 million chapters. Can you imagine, do you have $1 million chapter, 7 crores plus? Please stand up there. If you're a part of $1 million chapter, please stand up. Give them a big hand. This is $1 million chapter. Sir, how many members do you have in your chapter? 85. Which city are you from? Where? Oh, okay, wonderful, excellent. So I know Surat has got about $4 million chapters. Surat's got 4. Mumbai, sir, yesterday I actually twisted your arm. Mumbai, out of the 25, I'm happy Mumbai has got 1, but I need Mumbai to have 10 chapters by end of 2020. That is the vision. We guys are here to make money. You did not join BNI to come and act like a club. If you're joining BNI, you need to participate. You need to be the player in the game. The people who play cricket, the players make more money than the spectators. Do you agree? We need to be the players in the game. We have to build for the right reasons. So the stage of abundance is when you take the eyes off yourself, because at the survival stage, you're only feeding your stomach. At the stability stage, you're able to feed your family and your vendors and the people around you. At the stage of abundance, it now has moved out, and it's in the heart, and even if you look at our Indian science is really phenomenal. If you look at the 7 chakras, it goes from the stage of the survival stage over to the abundance, and then, so that is why we need to be in the stage of abundance. We need to look beyond where we are. So this is one thing. Finally, scaling up your business. How did we scale up? And these are some, I'm going to run through some of these stuff. How many of you really want to scale your business here? How many of you want to scale your business, but you don't have as yet? I think in order to scale up your business, there are 2 things, simple things. One is you have to have a predictable system first. If not, you're not going to be able to scale up. So first, get your house in order. When I say your house, your business in order. Do you have a process? Do you have a team? Are you able to make enough money for you to get to the stability stage of your business? Do not think about scaling up if you're not yet at the stability stage of your business. You cannot scale up if you're in the survival stage of your business. How many of you agree with that? You need to have the stability stage of the business is when you start thinking about scaling up. So the first piece is you need to work in the business. When I was running India, every month I was traveling. When I was taking care of Mumbai, I was going there 1 week every month, because at those days I was working in the business. When I was setting up my BPO operations in India, when I moved back, I was working in the business till I was able to find the team to run it. Okay? Then you move to the system. Once your business has got stability is when you need to build systems in your business. Okay, now let me talk to you about systems. Is BNI a system? Do you think it is a successful system? Then why is, so in BNI we will have, okay, I'll talk to you about this. So in a system, in order to scale up, before I talk about systems, in order to scale up, I thought it was in this slide. Yeah. So when you have a system, the business grows on its own. BNI India grew from 9,800 and continues to grow because the system has a life on its own and it'll have exponential growth. Okay? So what are some things about scaling up your business? One, you can tell me I have a rock star product. I have a fantastic product. Right? That's one way to scale. But how many of you know people who have got a fantastic product but they are not yet scaled? We all know. We may have a fantastic product or service but we are not scaled. How many of you think that you know people that they have scaled their business based on their personality? Absolutely. But what happens if that person passes on or something happens? The whole business goes off. So the only way to scale, and if you're interested in scaling, you will have to build systems. Understand? But you cannot get to the systems unless you are in the level of stability. Now in systems, you will have step 1, step 2, step 3. So for example, what is your, if you take BNI as an example, in the first 24 to 48 hours of the visitor visiting us, we are processing it. Okay? And everything in BNI is a system. BNI is one of the best systems right from when the chapter meeting is conducted to how the trainings are run on a monthly basis. If you follow the system, you will succeed. Correct? But there's one secret ingredient in systems. Do you think BNI as a system worldwide it works, right? But why is it that we still have chapters at 16 and chapters at 120? Right now, do you know the largest chapter in the world? What is the size? 170. Who said 170? See, those guys who are making 170. I'm talking about the members because we as EDs, we already knew it in the group. But 170 members, I don't know if Gaurav and Nidhi are here, so give them a big hand. They're breaking barriers for us. I don't know how they run a 170 member chapter. It's going to be interesting to see it. I don't mind if it's a 2-hour or 2.5 hour chapter. But that is, Nidhi, that is bigger than almost 50 of my countries. Not 50, I say 73 countries, I would say 50%. Many of my countries, 30 to 40% of my countries out of the 73 are less than a 170 member chapter. She really needs to be commended on. So what is that secret sauce in a system? How many of you can tell me what the secret sauce is? You know that you go to stability state, only then you scale. In order to scale, you need to have a system. So far, so good? Yeah? So what is that secret ingredient? Yes, ma'am. Implementation of the processes. So yes, what is that, ma'am? People, process, and technology. That's one of the things. So you're right. It all ends up as having the right driver. Every chapter that has grown has had the right drivers. Every region that has grown has got the right drivers in them. And if you have the wrong driver driving the system, it can crash. Your chapter that is 50 can go down. Got it? Your own business. Now, if you flip it to your business also, when you create the system in your business and when you're starting to step away from the business, you need to make sure you have put the right drivers in place. Okay? Robert Kiyosaki, he was here a couple of years ago, but I love his book. Robert Kiyosaki is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's also the author of Cash Flow Quadrant. If you have a chance, read his 2 books. He talks about the ways of earning money. Employee, we teach this in our DC trainings. Being an employee, being a self-employed person, self-employed like a doctor. Then you're in the next quadrant of being a business owner. And no matter what quadrant you're earning money, you need to put it into investments that bring you residual income to get out of the rat race. That is the gist of his book. But here's one thing. He says if you're a business owner and you have to go open your shop in the morning and close it down, and you're the only one driving that business, you are not a business owner. It's when you step away from your business and then the magic happens and it grows that's when you have truly created a business. Till then, you're not created a business. And that, I learned it in year 2000. I implemented it in the first thing in year 2003 in my software business. I stepped out of the business when it was 800 employees, but it continued to grow to 2,000 employees because over those first 8 years, we found the right people to run it, and we created the right systems. You with me so far? So what is the most important thing in terms of systems? The driver. The driver. Again, it's no matter what business you do, it ends down to the business. So far so good. The concept funda is good, because unless you have this foundation, I can't move to the next stage. Do you want me to move to the next stage, or shall I wrap up? Okay. You want me to wrap up the next stage? You want me to go? I know you guys met Paolo already. Paolo and Bianca, if I can invite you here on stage for a minute, and Jonathan and Dan. These guys, please come on stage for a minute. For a minute, half a minute. Come on. Visibility, man, gets you more credibility first. So you guys met Paolo. He's an executive director from Spain. Last 2 weeks back, I was in Spain. I was having a dinner at a banquet. I told him, if you want to grow, you need to be in India. Now, I look for leaders who take action. This guy immediately booked his trip. Of course, he's going to have a nice vacation with his partner here, but I look for leaders like him. He jumped on a plane, got here, and what is happening here is going to be a miracle to your region and also to Spain, moving forward.
Of course.
Yeah? Bianca also, we talked, I was in the training with her in ED training, and then she also came here on faith. As leaders, we step out on faith. How many of you seen the Indiana Jones movie where he actually steps out and the bridge opens up? As business owners, we all take the leap of faith like they did. Dan had no choice but come here. Okay? But he took a leap of faith when we told him that he has to build a team in India. He's building a team. He didn't say, I know Preeti and I have worked before where some of the managers will say, hey, no, we don't want to build a team in India. So I really appreciate you taking that leap of faith and coming to India, and now we're going to... See, Dan is building a team in India. He is, guys, the 4th largest country. Of course, US is the largest country, but inside US, the company-owned regions is a country within a country. And if you take his own regions, it's almost the 4th largest country that he's running. So if you get a chance, please do meet up with him, okay? And Jonathan is my right-hand man in Singapore. Singapore had 3 years of negative growth. Again, why am I bringing up leaders like this? Because these are my drivers, okay? I am going to give them the system, but I am identifying the right drivers for the system. If I had not identified Jonathan, we wouldn't have turned around the ship in Singapore. We are now plus 150 in Singapore. We're going to be across Sri Lanka. Where is my buddy driver in Sri Lanka? Where is KVT? He's outside in Sri Lanka someplace. But he took a region from 22 to we're going to be crossing Sri Lanka at 500. So whatever I'm teaching you here is what is in practice. There's no funda theory over here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. So identify drivers like this and then step back. I don't need to do. Once Jonathan is taking the ship of Sri Lanka or Singapore, I'm not going to. Once KVT, initially I was working in Sri Lanka. Once I was working, set the system, got my driver, I have stepped out of Sri Lanka. I have stepped out of India. So it is important. That is the formula for scaling. Now finally here, now you have a growing business. Now you need to, if you want to exponentially grow it, if you want to take it like India, from 9,800 to 30,000 members. And we are going to go to 50,000, and we will be 100,000 members. The world will be 1 million members, no doubt about it, right? So what is required for it? So there is something called the 4 speeds of a business. And this is something many of you may or may not have heard before, but there are actually 4 speeds in a business. We may be doing only one of those speeds. And you see, we are working very hard in the business and our business is not growing. And we are saying, hey, look, that person's business is growing, my business is not growing. Why is that fellow's region growing and I'm not? I'm also doing all these meetings like he's doing. So there are 4 speeds in your business, and it's important to understand this. I talked about this in the last year's Mumbai conference. So some of the EDs, this may be repetitive for you, but it's a refresher for you. So the first is what I call the functional speed. This is what allows your business on a day-to-day basis to function properly. That means your own team. Do you have a team in your office, like we have our GST team, is that the one that's helping you function properly? They determine the speed of your business. Some of us have 2 people in our office, some of us have 30 people. So the speed at which you're functioning depends on the number of people you have. If you decide to cut down the number of people, then you don't expect the speed of your business to go faster. Functional speed is about your office staff. The second speed is process speed. How fast are you taking it from point A to point B? Are you processing your new member application in 24 to 48 hours? McDonald's, if you're going to the drive-in counter, they clock from the moment you placed your order to the moment it is delivered is 189 seconds. They have actually gone down by 1 second and they're upset about it. So guys, if you're in insurance business, you know when the application is filled to when the testing has to be done. And so every business has got a process. Is your process efficient and effective? Is there a way to fine-tune that process? Okay? So that is the process speed. You're good with process speed? So you may be very good in process speed, but if you don't have a functional team, it's of no use. Third is timing speed. This is one of the little more difficult ones to explain, but the timing speed comes from you running your business. You will know at which point in time to actually implement something. Which means, are we having Members' Day in Christmas time? No. There is a time to grow and things. So this is a timing speed that you need to be aware of. When to put the sales promotions. You will have to make mistakes to understand this. In BNI, we hold 1 MSP a month. If you're above 500, you need to hold 2 MSPs a month, and that is all determined by the expansion speed. Expansion speed, this one is, there are 2 ways to expand. You can expand by a number of products, like how Coca-Cola did. When they hired a new CEO, they said, they analyzed whatever a human being drinks. And then they started buying those businesses or going to those businesses. Whether it is, water in Dasani, Minute Maid, vitamin water. And I'm going to wrap up by saying your expansion speed is directly proportional to your functional speed. I cannot go make India 50,000 members if I don't have a good team operating India at the back end. Your functional team is the most important team, and may I ask my GST members to please stand where you are. My global support team members, please stand. This is my diamonds. This is my gold mine. How many of you work with, if you're in India, you have worked with Amreen and Arvind? Raise your arm, Arvind and Amreen. So all our EDs are afraid of them, especially Amreen. Okay? But that is the team. You need to create a dream team like the GST team, who's in the functional end. Otherwise, you cannot expand like what we are doing. Please sit down. Thank you very much. I'm almost wrapped up here. This is my GST team. This is in BNI, the process is determined by my EDs. They determine when the MSPs are conducted and how well the applications are processed. My timing speed is determined by my NDs in BNI environment. And finally, the expansion speed of BNI completely determines on the director consultant team. The DNA team is the most precious link in BNI. Got it? They are the ones that are meeting with the end members, they are training the end members, they are able to launch chapters and train. So they are one of the most critical pieces of the expansion speed. If my expansion in my DNA team is working, but my functional team is not working, it's impossible to expand. So with that, you need to understand for yourself which speed you are in, and then analyze which are the other ones you don't think. So I'm not going to go through these slides. With that, I'm going to wrap up. My favorite, around the world where I go, I talk about Nagaraja. I'm not sure if he's still here around, but he is a guy that used luck and being part of the system. He's taken his revenues from a $12,000 a year to over $300,000 a year. With that, I want to thank Anant and Balaji for inviting me here today and allowing me to speak to you and share. Though I'm late, I wish some of this information you can take back to your regions and your chapters and implement. Thank you very much. I may hand it back.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Mac for you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, sir. Abhishek over here. Guys, can we have another round of applause for Mr. Mac Srinivasan, please?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now I request Mr. Anantram and Mr. Balaji to please felicitate.
All of you to stay back for just another 2 more minutes. So we have a lot of people coming from across the country. So in recognition of that, we have few awards to the people who have come from the all over India. So may I request all the people to just sit for another 2-3 minutes. Okay. So we'll be closing. So over to Ram.
Thank you, Anand. And we have Mac here. We are fortunate today. Bangalore, BNI Bangalore is fortunate to have stalwarts like Mac and Ivan in Bangalore. And you know, it's always a pleasure talking of scaling up with Mac, because we've seen him scale up. Amazing, Mac. It was a wonderful presentation. We loved every minute of it. And now I would request Mac to hand out the awards for the highest BNI Outstation City Award. In 3rd place, ladies and gentlemen, these are members who've come all the way from their cities to attend BNI Bang 2019. In 3rd place, we have BNI Theni, and I would request Parvati Chandrasekhar, the ED of BNI Theni, to come up here, please, and receive the award from Mac himself. Yes. What award for Theni? They have 25 members in attendance here. 25 members in attendance. So in 3rd position, we have Theni. Okay, all the members coming up here. Wonderful. Congratulations. There you go. Once again, this wonderful award is totally green. It's made of plantation wood, and the award on the back has the BNI core values engraved. We have the BNI core values engraved, and that's what all of us carry in our hearts, and we live those values. Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Ivan, for the wonderful system that you have brought. The system that Mac was talking about also. Fantastic. So tied at 3rd position, we also have BNI Madurai. Can I have the ED Raja to come up here, please, along with the members from BNI Madurai. Also 25 members in attendance from the lovely temple city of Madurai. Can we have members from BNI Madurai come up here, please? Madurai. Okay, fantastic. Let's hear it for the young lady. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it. Come on. Yes, fantastic. And now, in 2nd position, we have Kolkata, CBDA and North. Can I have Bimal and Rahul Mohta up here, please? You guys have 26 members in attendance today. 26 members in attendance. Kolkata, anyone from Kolkata can come up here, represent your region and collect your award from MAC. Yeah, great. Okay, lovely. And now, in 1st position, are you excited? Are you intrigued to know which region is getting the 1st place? Who? E-Road, you're right, 36 members in attendance. Mr. Mahesh Giri and Mr. Raj Shekhar, can I have you up here? If your members are here, please do join us on stage. Yes. Wonderful. From E-Road, we have 36 members. Wonderful support that the region provides. It's amazing. Thank you, sir. We value your attendance here today. Thank you very much. Okay. And in addition to this year we've introduced a new award which was on the spot. It's called the BNI Best Stall Award. We've had so many stalls there. So in 3rd place, Members have put in a lot of effort to decorate their stalls. And in third place, we have Jay Graphics. Can we have stall owner Jay Graphic up here, please? Jay Graphic. Okay. Jay Graphics, calling once, calling twice. Oh, with Ivan in the stall. Fantastic. In second place, we have Mubils from Hyderabad. Mubils, Hyderabad. What a lovely stall. All our members loved your stall. Please do come up here. Congratulations to you. Mubils, Hyderabad, please. Our members put in that effort and actually got an award made for you this evening. And it's been specially brought here with your name on it. Thank you so much. Mubils. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, in number one position, the winner hands down is the stall Artha. Senthil Ban, are you here, Senthil? The stall Artha. Let's hear it for Artha, guys. Yes, I know it's the end of the evening. Let's hear it. Can I hear you clap for Artha, the wonderful granite stall that was displayed there? Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, Mac. Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Chairman of the bank to come.
Yeah. Can I request now the chairman of Bank 2019, Dr. Sudhir Anand, to come up on stage, please? The chairman of Bank, Dr. Sudhir Anand. Yes, let's hear it for this man. He is the man who made this happen with the entire team. Yeah, can we hear it? Absolutely.
Good morning, BNI. So, Bank 2020. Bank 2020 is on August 22nd, 2020. So, Bank 2020 is going to be on August 22nd, 2020. So, we're already in the last 3 days thinking how we should go about it starting now.
So, I want everybody to listen to this. So, this is a special announcement here. So, you know that how the bank happens every year and the kind of support what we get from members. The entire bank is always, most of our sponsors are only our members. So I thank each and every sponsors of bank to 2019. And this year we have a booking for the 2020 bank already. The title sponsor for the 2020 bank is already, he's ready. So Mac, so I want you also to come here. So the title sponsor for 2020 bank is, Mac, I want you to announce.
Santosh Burani, Burani Real Estate, the BNI. Thank you, Santosh. What an amazing, I was seeing some slides, old slides. You have more than 50 people in your own chapter. How many actually right now? What's the score? Your own sponsoring in your own chapter? 55 people he has sponsored in his own chapter. It's like amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Santosh called me, about yesterday. He said, Anant, I'm just thinking something. So is it okay to say now? He said, I'm not asking you what is the price or whatsoever it is, but I want to say something that I want to be the title sponsor for 2020. In fact, last year, the Santosh was the Burani Estates was the title sponsor. He said, so the 2020 also I want to take it up, even though the markets or whatever it is condition, I don't care, but so I'll be the title sponsor. That's what he said. So you want to say something, Santosh?
Let me, before he says that, so we are going to again call it Burani Real Estate Presents Bank 2020.
Thank you. So incidentally, I'm completing 25 years of Burani Real Estate next year.
And what a better way to celebrate than taking up sponsorship, because BNI, there's a chapter of Burani real estate before BNI and after BNI. So thanks, BNI. I'm just giving it back to BNI. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So I request all the executive directors and the volunteers, whoever work, the entire team to join us for the dinner over there. So all the volunteers, core team, and the executive directors, the DCs, so I request you to, ambassadors, DCs, senior DCs, everyone to join us there. Thank you very much. So see you all in Bank 2020. Okay, sorry, there is one more. I totally missed our own executive committee. So I request all the members of the executive committee to come here. Ram Samtani, Dr. Sudhir, Ashwin Acharya, P.S. Rao. So please come over. Sumati, Aarti, Sumati and Aarti. Balaji, Pawan Jain, Pawan Kumar Jain.
Shall I next? Pawan Jain. Thank you. Thank you. P.S. Rao, thank you.
So thank you all for participating here. So thank you volunteers. Anyway, volunteers will be meeting you again. So the amazing job done by the entire Lead Visitor host team, LVH, and the volunteers. So it was an amazing, working with you all. So please join us for the dinner over there. So we'll be talking to you more over there. Thank you so much.